When I was just a little girl, someone ruined my life, and to this day, I've never forgotten it. Never in a million years did I think I'd bump into them as an adult and have the opportunity to get revenge. But that's exactly what I did. Before I dive into my story, allow me to introduce myself a bit. I'm Ellie, and I'm 25 years old. I live in San Fran, and even though I've had a pretty tough life, I'm pretty happy now, and I have the greatest job. I'm a project manager at a cool startup in Silicon Valley. I work hard, not just because I enjoy my job, but because I like being an independent kind of girl. A lot of my friends ask me why I don't just find a rich guy to take care of me, and that just drives me crazy. I mean, I chose to be single because I really don't trust guys. You see, my dad is a nasty piece of work, and so he left a pretty bad taste in my mouth when it came to how I felt about men. When I was just 5 years old, he abandoned me and my mom in LA to go live with his mistress. Even talking about it now, I feel angry. We were devastated and begged him to stay, but he left us. After that, things were horrible for me and my mom. My dad was the breadwinner and was the CEO of a company, so we'd never had to worry about a thing. But after he left, my mom struggled to find a job, and sometimes we even went to bed hungry. I remember people felt sorry for us, and one of our neighbors started leaving food parcels on our doorstep. It was very sweet of them, but humiliating too. I hated my dad for leaving us in that mess, and I hated his mistress even more for stealing him away. I vowed to never date anyone because I never wanted to end up in my mom's position. All I knew was that men hurt women, and that wasn't going to be my story. So anytime guys asked me out, I turned them down. That was until something crazy happened that changed my mind on this whole guy thing. I was feeling really ill one day, and because I lived alone, I had to go out to the grocery store to get some food. When I got back, I felt like I was about to pass out. Before I even made it inside the door, I fainted on my porch. Luckily for me, one of my neighbors saw me fainting and rushed over to help me. I'd only ever seen him a few times in passing, but when I opened my eyes, he was standing over me. I felt so grateful. He told me his name was Brian, and I couldn't believe how kind he was being. He looked after me until I'd fully recovered. He made me soup and even sat by my bed and wiped my face with a cold cloth to help get rid of my fever. The more time he spent by my side, the more I started to think maybe I'd been wrong. Maybe not all men were bad news like my dad. Maybe Brian was one of the good ones. I'm not proud of this, but I might have pretended to still be sick, just so he would keep coming to see me. Even after a week, he laughed and said to me, "Ellie, your fever is totally gone. Are you just using me now?" I could feel my face go bright red and jokingly said, "Look at me, I definitely still got a fever." I really didn't want Brian to stop visiting. Other than my mom, no one had ever been so loving towards me. There was no hiding fact that I had feelings for him. We started hanging out more. Some days I worked super late, and whenever I came home, he'd invite me over for dinner. And one night, he had set up candles and romantic music, and guys, that's when we kissed for the first time. It felt so good, and I knew there was no point fooling myself. I loved him, and he loved me too. For the next few months, we were inseparable. We spent every possible moment together, and after 6 months of dating, he asked me to meet him for lunch one day down by the waterfront. When I arrived, I couldn't believe it. He'd arranged for us to go out on a boat for a picnic. Then, when we were out in the water, looking back at the city, he turned to me and said, "Ellie, I've never met anyone like you before. I want to spend the rest of my life looking after you, my Ellie bear. Will you marry me?" Oh my god, I'm not joking. I started crying so much, I thought we were going to capsize. This was the most romantic proposal ever. Of course I said yes. I couldn't wait to spend my life with Brian, and I was already so excited to start planning our wedding. I'd always dreamt of getting married in a vineyard near Sacramento. So now all we had to do was choose a venue and, of course, tell our parents. Brian had met my mom, and they got on so well, but I still hadn't met his parents. They were divorced, and Brian only really saw his dad. His mom was always working, he said, and so they didn't hang out much. I told him it was important to me that I met them both. So he arranged it. I was pretty nervous, but Brian's dad was so lovely, just like him. I could see where he got his kindness from. Then it was time to meet his mom. We went to a restaurant that she chose, and when we walked in, I thought I was going to collapse. This couldn't be happening, I thought. Brian's mom was none other than Sasha, my dad's mistress from all those years ago. I felt sick, and Brian could sense something was wrong. I tried to act as normal as possible, but inside, I wanted to scream. Brian introduced us and told me his mom was the CEO of my company's rival company. Could this get any worse? I had to smile and pretend to be happy to meet her. Honestly, I felt like I was going to puke and was counting the minutes until I could run out of there. Finally, his mom said she had to get back to work, and I felt like I could breathe again. But I had questions. On the way home, I asked Brian about his mom's life, and he said she divorced his dad 20 years ago when he was just 7 years old. She'd moved in with another guy, which I knew was my dad, but they'd broken up a long time ago, he said, and she had been constantly changing boyfriends till now. I turned to Brian and I said, "Are you okay with that? If she was my mom, I wouldn't want her to be playing around like that." But Brian just said, "I don't care. All that matters is that she's a good mom. As for her private life, she can do whatever she likes, right?" I couldn't believe it. How could Brian be such a good son? His mom had abandoned him, and he was just fine with it. I would never forgive my dad and his mistress for destroying me and my mom's life. And now I decided it was time for revenge. She'd made my childhood a living hell, and now it was her turn to know what it felt like. With planning the wedding, we started to see his mom, Sasha, more often, and I used these opportunities to try and get closer to her. Then one day I started complaining about my job, even though I loved it, and Sasha said, "Why don't you come work for me? There's a vacancy going, and you'd be perfect for it. I mean, you have so much experience." This was exactly what I wanted. Now I could ruin her company and then watch her life crumble. Everyone was surprised I was quitting my job to work for our rival company, but I didn't even have time to care about what they thought. On the first day at my new job, Sasha introduced me to everyone in the software design department, and that's when I met Clark, the head of the department. He was a little older than me, around 30, and he was well known in Silicon Valley for being super smart. The department was about to launch a new app that would blow people's minds, and everyone was super excited about it. Throughout my first day there, I couldn't help but notice how much attention Sasha was paying to Clark. It was kind of sickening to watch. She constantly flirted with him, and all I could think was how he was way too young for her. At lunch, she acted like a schoolgirl, saying, "Clarky, I saved a seat for you." I couldn't understand why Clark would like her. She continued to flirt with him over the next few weeks. She always brought him a coffee, and she didn't do that for anyone else. Then in meetings, she always chose his ideas. It was pretty frustrating, and I even thought about telling Brian that it looked like his mom had found a new boy toy. But then one day, I was working late, and when I walked past the meeting room to go to the restroom, I heard Sasha and Clark chatting, and I couldn't stop myself from eavesdropping. Sasha was giggling and said, "Oh, come on, Clark. I'll even give you a pay rise again. It's just one date." Then Clark said, "Sorry, I really can't. I'm too busy, and to be honest, I didn't have that kind of feeling for you. I'm so sorry." Ha! It made me so pleased to hear Clark rejecting her. She didn't deserve a nice guy like Clark. As I walked back to my desk, I glanced into the meeting room, and I saw how upset she looked. Wow, she looked really hurt. She must have liked Clark a lot. And so, that's when my plan started to unfold. I would do to her what she'd done to my mom. I would steal the guy she loved right from under her nose. Hey guys, it's me again, Ellie. So, in the first part of my story, I told you about how my dad abandoned me and my mom when I was just a kid to go live with his mistress, and that made me never want to date guys. But then I met Brian, and we got engaged! Meeting his mom was a huge shock because she was none other than my dad's mistress from all those years ago. I couldn't handle it and decided to get revenge. First, I started working in her company, and then I noticed she had a crush on Clark, the head of the software design department, so I decided to steal him from her, and you won't believe what happened next. One Friday evening, after everyone had left, I noticed that Clark was still working. I made him a cup of coffee and asked about how the proposal he was working on was going. We had a pretty nice chat, and I tried to flirt with him. I won't lie, I started to see why Sasha fancied him. He was a really nice guy. I even gave him my number and said if he ever needed any help with the proposal, just to call me. We didn't get to chat for long, though, because Brian suddenly called me and said he was waiting outside. When I got downstairs, he was dressed up in a nice shirt and said he wanted to take me to our favorite restaurant. I was pretty surprised because we hadn't gone on a spontaneous date in a while. We'd both been so busy recently. I ordered my favorite ramen soup, and then I smiled and asked Brian in a teasing way, "What's the occasion? You haven't taken me out on a date in ages." I waited for him to reply, and he wouldn't look at me. I started to panic and asked him, "Brian, what is it? Is something wrong?" Then he told me that he'd just been assigned to manage a big project in New York. He said he needed to fly there the following week and that the project was expected to last 3 months. But he said he'd come back every weekend to see me and that it was just temporary. I couldn't even respond. I just stared at him with the noodle hanging out of my mouth. My heart was doing somersaults. Brian started laughing and said, "Look at you, Ellie. Your mouth is open so wide you're basically drooling. Come on, I'll be back every weekend." Poor Brian, he didn't even know what I was thinking right now. This coincidence was such a perfect ingredient for my revenge recipe, because now I could carry out my revenge on his mom without him knowing. Brian had no idea what I was up to, and I felt kind of bad. He really loved me, and I didn't want to hurt him by doing this to his mom, but I had to. I had to get revenge. Nothing else mattered. Later that night, we were watching a movie together in bed, and as the movie ended, Brian said he was exhausted and wanted to go to sleep. But my phone beeped right at that moment. It was a text from Clark. I didn't want Brian to see, so I took my phone to the bathroom to reply to him, and it said, "Thanks for your support tonight. Due to that, I had came up with a possible solution for the proposal." For the rest of the night, while Brian slept sweetly next to me, Clark and I texted back and forth all night. So far, it looked like my plan was working. Then, the next week, Brian left for his business trip, and as expected, he was so busy he couldn't make it back every weekend to see me. I missed him so much, but I was also grateful because it gave me time to really get to know Clark. And during those 3 months, we became quite close. Of course, during that time, Sasha still consistently flirted with Clark. It was super awkward because he clearly wasn't interested. One weekend, we had a team bonding trip and went stand-up paddleboarding. Sasha pretended she couldn't do it and kept asking Clark to help her, but he pretty much ignored her and hung out with our other colleagues instead. And then she asked him to join her for lunch one day, but he said he was busy, and I just had to laugh, because actually, he was having lunch with me. I had to be really careful that she didn't discover I was flirting with Clark, because then I could lose my job and my plan would have failed. Also, not to mention the fact that I was engaged to her son, and if any mom saw her daughter-in-law-to-be flirting with some other guy, she'd freak out. Honestly, it was nerve-wracking. I was constantly on edge, terrifying that she'd notice what I was up to. And there were a couple of times where she almost caught me. One night, both Clark and I worked late, and we left the office together and planned to go for a drink. But as soon as we got in Clark's car, I saw Sasha pulling into the car park. She spotted Clark and his car. She literally drove her car toward us. Her face was so cheerful that I knew she would walk toward Clark's car when she got out of her car. At that moment, I knew I had to get out of Clark's car ASAP before she noticed me. I excused Clark that I'd left my phone upstairs, and before Clark could have any responses, I got out of his car and ran as fast as I could. Just only when I safely hid behind a big pillar did I stop to breathe and realize that my heart almost exploded from fear. From that time, I was more careful with Sasha, but it was so hard. A day when I was making a move to Clark in his office, I sat close to him and gave him an affectionate look. And someone knocked on the door, I abruptly got off Clark because I thought that was Brian's mom again. I breathed a sigh of relief when realizing it was only Clark's secretary, yet my heart was still beating very rapidly. It was all worth it, though. After 2 months of flirting with him, he confessed to me that he liked me. When I read the text from him, I was so happy I actually squealed. I'd done it. Now for part 2 of my plan. I was going to use Clark to find out exactly how I could make Sasha's company collapse into a million little pieces. So, when Clark asked me to be his girlfriend, I agreed, but on one condition, that we kept it a secret. Clark agreed to this because he knew there would be lots of troubles if Sasha found out. And honestly, Clark treated me so nicely, even nicer than Brian did. He showered me in gifts, and he really listened to me. Anytime I told him I liked something, he remembered and would surprise me with it the next time I saw him. At work, we had to keep things on the down low, but every morning I'd find a handwritten love note in the drawer of my desk. It really made me feel guilty because it was clear Clark liked me a lot, and there I was, just using him for revenge. The company was about to release the new app they'd been working on for the past year, and it was expected to make the company gain a huge market share and beat all its competitors, including my old company. So I started doing overtime with Clark so that I could get access to the info on how the software for this app had been created. It was top secret info, and as a junior project manager, I had no right to this info. My old company would love to get their hands on this confidential info, and with it, they could easily kick Sasha's company to the curb and dominate the market. Then she'd have lost not just her crush, but also her career. Served her right for what she did to me and my family. One night, after we'd worked super late, he turned to me and said, "We should get going. I'm exhausted." He went to the toilet before we left and asked me to sort out the documents. As soon as he left the room, I took photos of the app development plan and all the different steps in creating the software. This was like gold, but Clark was too quick. He came back before I'd managed to take a pic of the last document. Damn. Now I just need to find another opportunity to get that last bit of info. But I had to act quickly because the app was about to be released and my old company was urging me to send the documents ASAP. That night I felt so anxious that I couldn't sleep. What was I playing at? I mean, sure, I wanted to get revenge on Sasha. She deserved it. But this would crush Brian, who I really did love. And then what about Clark? He liked me so much and had no clue that I was just using him. He'd be devastated if he found out. How had I gone from being an independent single girl with no interest in guys to the kind of girl who two-timed? I couldn't stop thinking about it all, but I had to focus. The revenge plan needed to go ahead. The next morning, I woke up feeling exhausted, but luckily it was the weekend. I'd arranged to go over to Clark's place to try and get my hands on that last document, but unfortunately, Clark wasn't interested in talking about work. He said it was the weekend and he just wanted to relax with me. Then he suggested we rent bikes and cycle over the Golden Gate Bridge and have a picnic to watch the sunset. Wow, it ended up being the best day ever. I felt so happy and I hadn't realized how funny Clark could be. We laughed nonstop and I didn't want the day to end. We kissed under the sunset. How romantic it was! But little did I know what was waiting for me at home. Hey guys, Ellie here, again. I'm going to share with you the final part of my story, and trust me, you won't want to miss it. In part 2 of my story, my revenge plan really got underway. Brian went to New York to work for 3 months, and I managed to seduce Clark. Now we're dating, and I almost have all the info I need to make Sasha's company crash. But after an amazing day out with Clark, I came home, and you will not believe what was waiting for me. Brian was there. He was sitting in my living room and he looked so angry. He'd flown home that afternoon and couldn't wait to spend that weekend with me. But when he arrived at my house to surprise me, I wasn't there. He was about to call me to ask where I was when he received a photo from his friend. It was of me and Clark. Turns out his friend had seen us sharing a picnic by the Golden Gate Bridge and had sneakily taken a photo of us kissing each other and sent it to Brian. And he was mad. He started shouting at me, saying, "How could you cheat on me like this?" He looked heartbroken and all I could do was cry. I couldn't even explain myself because the truth was much worse. If he knew it was just to hurt his mom, he'd never forgive me. In the end, he stormed out, leaving me there crying. But I had to be strong. I had to focus on my revenge. I didn't have time to sit and cry over Brian. For now, I'd have to put him to the side and try not to think about him. When Monday rolled around, I was exhausted. I'd barely slept the whole weekend and couldn't bear going to work. But I had no choice. The day dragged by, and by the time 5 p.m. rolled around, I waited until everyone left, and then I went to Clark's office. I gave him a hug, and he started massaging my neck and said, "Baby, you look so tired. What's up?" I replied saying, "No, I'm good. In fact, I'm much better now that I've seen you. Although I wouldn't say no to a cup of coffee." Of course, Clark happily went and made me one. And as soon as he was out of the room, I ran to his desk and started rummaging around looking for the documents. But I couldn't find them anywhere. Had he put them in a drawer? I quickly checked, but while I was doing that, Clark walked back into the room. Ellie, what are you doing? I got the fright of my life and stood up saying, nothing, just helping you tidy up your desk. It's such a mess. At that moment, my phone suddenly beeped. I went to grab it, but Clark got to it first. Oh no. Suddenly his face changed as he read my text. Then he said, "What's going on, Ellie? You better explain yourself quick." He handed me my phone back, and I couldn't believe it. It was my old colleague Amy asking if I'd got the last document yet to show how the app was put together. I felt so sick, and I knew I couldn't lie anymore. I looked back up at Clark, and in tears I told him everything. Clark, I know you're probably going to hate me after I tell you this, and I don't blame you, but please just hear me out. Sasha is a nasty woman. She was actually my dad's mistress when I was a kid, and she tore apart my family. I'm so sorry, Clark, but I'm actually engaged to Brian, Sasha's son. I only took this job because I wanted to find a chance to ruin her business and life. As soon as I saw Sasha was interested in you, I decided to try and get you to like me, so that I can let her know what it's like when she loses someone she loves. Then, by using you, I'd take all the confidential info to... Ugh, I'm so sorry, Clark. By the time I'd finished telling him, I was crying so much I could barely breathe, and I knew Clark would be deeply upset. But instead, something crazy happened. He came over and hugged me. He told me to calm down, and then he said, "Revenge is pointless, Ellie. It doesn't do anyone any good, especially not you. I know Sasha hurt you, but you need to let that go. It's in the past now. Sure, it might make you feel good right now, but in the long run, will you be any happier?" I just cried even more then. Why was he still being so nice to me? I didn't deserve this. I kept apologizing, and he said he understood why I'd done it all, and that he forgave me. He said, "I know you have a good heart in there. You just got a little lost. That's all. But promise me one thing. Please don't hand over the documents to your old company. Our company has worked so hard on this. Please don't do it, Ellie." Well, it was the least I could do after everything I'd done to him so far. I promised not to hand the documents over, and after I left Clark in the office, I realized something. I actually liked him. Not just as a friend or colleague, but as something more. I had actual feelings for him, and now I'd gone and hurt him so much I felt awful. And there were still a couple of other things I had to deal with too. As soon as I got home, I called Brian, but he didn't answer. I knew I couldn't wait any longer, so I left him a voice message explaining everything. I ended the message by saying sorry, but I knew Brian would struggle to forgive me, and I didn't blame him. Not only had I cheated on him, I'd even tried to harm his mom. Anyway, she was his mom, even if she'd done bad stuff in her past. The next morning, I quit my job. People were shocked, but I just told them I wanted to go home and be with my mom. When I was packing my stuff at my office, I found a note paper from Clark saying, "Leave the grief behind and live happily, my darling. A good girl like you deserves happiness." So Clark wasn't angry with me at all. That's enough. Now I could leave without any worries. Over the next few days, I packed up all my stuff and left San Fran. My heart was aching the whole time, but I knew I needed to get out of there and clear my head. I just checked in at the airport when Brian called me. I was so nervous to answer his call, as I hadn't heard back from him since I left the voice message. I held my breath as I accepted the call and prepared for him to shout at me, but it didn't happen. Still, with his usual sweetness and calm, he told me he was so shocked by my message he hadn't known what to say to me. It had taken him a few days to think everything through, and now he said he was ready to talk. "I'm not mad at you, Ellie," he said, "but you should have shared your childhood stuff with me earlier. And why didn't you tell me that it was my mom your dad ran off with? We could have worked through this. I'm so sorry my mom was the one that tore your family apart. But she's different now. Please just give her a chance. Brian, I'm sorry for everything. I'm glad that you're not angry with me. But to forgive your mom, I think I need more time." It seemed that Brian was about to say something, but That's when I heard the airport announcement asking passengers in my flight to proceed to the boarding gate. Therefore, I had no choice but to hang up the phone. Brian, listen. I'm so sorry, but my plane is ready for boarding. Can I call you back soon? Huh? Where are you going? He asked. I told him I was going to stay with my mom for a bit. Well, I reckon that it'll be better for you now. Take your time and think things through, especially our relationship. I was startled as he said, our relationship, but realized he was right. I definitely needed some time to work things out. Could I ever forgive Sasha? I loved Brian, but was that love big enough to leave all this behind? I mean, I didn't know whether I could see Sasha as my mother-in-law or not, and how would my mom react to this? I got on the plane and sat down. For the first time in months, my heart felt more peaceful again, and I felt like I could really sleep. It's right. Neither Brian nor Clark hated me. Things would be okay. I was just about to close my eyes when I heard someone say my name. I looked up, and to my complete shock, Clark was walking down the aisle of the plane. He sat in the seat right opposite me and turned to me with the biggest grin and said, "I've never been to LA before. Want to be my tour guide?" Oh my God, I couldn't believe this. What was he doing here? I was so shocked to see him, but at the same time, there was no denying the excitement I felt. No one could ever say I led a boring life, that's for sure. I gave Clark a smile and said, "Sure," to him. I have no idea what the future holds for me, but I guess I'll find out soon. Wish me luck.
So everyone loves Christmas, right? Trust me. It's not so great when your boss fires you in November. How was I supposed to buy presents now? Still, I tried to see the positives. I hated that boring, underpaid, overworked job anyway. My ex-boss Adrian was the worst. He's a crazy perfectionist who always gave me ridiculous deadlines, complained about every tiniest mistake, and flipped out if things didn't go his way. No wonder he was still single at 32. Who could ever stand him? I wouldn't miss him, or my tragic ass-kissing coworkers. Anyways, on the bright side, I'd get to spend the entire holiday season with my family and my boyfriend Matt in peace, without being bothered by any annoying work emails. I, in fact, have invited Matt over for Thanksgiving dinner with my parents and plan to spend this cozy weekend with my loved ones. Then, the day before Thanksgiving, I packed up my car and was about to go and pick Matt up when my phone beeped.
Sonia, I don't think Thanksgiving is a good idea. I just think we need some time apart. Hope you have a great time. See you around, X.
What? Had he just broken up with me over text message? I immediately rang him up, but he'd turned his phone off. Just great. Here I was stuck at home for the entire Thanksgiving and Christmas period, being a jobless, boyfriendless loser. To make it worse, even my little sister Gina had a boyfriend who adored her. This is so unfair. One night, my parents were out to buy a Christmas tree, and Gina had her boyfriend over to help put up Christmas lights and decorations. Well, needless to say, love was in the air, and that festive vibe didn't help at all with my misery. So I refused to join them and curled up in my room. Feeling so lonely and miserable, I downloaded Tinder. I usually wasn't one for dating apps, but I was feeling so low, I would have happily spoken to anyone. I didn't feel like being me. I was sick of being me, so I used the fake name Crystal and just put some artsy scenery pictures up. I could be whoever I wanted to be. And you know what? It seemed to be working, as a few guys wanted to talk to me. Okay, most of them were also bored, or only after one thing, but then there's this guy called Carl that caught my attention. Like me, he had no pictures of himself, but instead, he had images of song lyrics and movie quotes, including the quote, "The more you know who you are and what you want, the less you let things upset you." I love the movie Lost in Translation, so I sent him a message telling him he had good taste in films, and he messaged me back complimenting the scenery photos I took. After that, we started chatting days and nights. We talked about everything from the dumb to the meaningful. He actually helped me out a lot and made the Christmas period bearable for me. It was all going great until Christmas Eve. He sent me a message to wish me a Merry Christmas, along with,
Let's meet up for a drink.
oh no. Even though the app said he was only a few miles away, I wasn't ready for meetups. I actually was nervous upon reading his text. My heart was pounding, and I found myself worrying about what he would think of me when we met. What if he didn't look like what I imagined? What if he'd be disappointed when he saw me? Why does that even matter, though? Unless I developed feelings for him. I don't even know anymore. But it's certain that I couldn't face him just yet. I politely refused his invitation. He was cool about it. Then we still continued to talk like normal. I survived Christmas, and then for New Year's Eve, Gina persuaded me to go to a party with her boyfriend and friends. I wasn't really keen to join, but I guessed I needed to do something to stop this gloominess. As I was walking in, I was so busy brushing off the snow on my shoulder that I bumped into a guy. To my horror, I looked up and saw that it was my old boss, Adrian. Why was he here, in my hometown? He was also shocked, but managed to smile at me. But I just gave him a glare, rolled my eyes, flipped back my hair, then strode off. What a mood killer! I grabbed a drink and sat in the corner in an attempt to avoid bumping into Adrian again. Gina found me and tried dragging me onto the dance floor, but I refused. Then she winked at me and in a tipsy voice said, "You need a man to dance with. I'll be right back." 5 minutes later, she excitedly waved at me and shouted over, "Found one!" I just want to facepalm as I saw her dragging Adrian by the hand over to me. Talk about awkward. But still, I mumbled out a hi, downed a shot for courage, and then chatted to him. Okay, it turns out he was visiting his grandparents who lived around here, and he was actually an okay guy to talk to. After I spent most of the night talking to him, he bought a drink, then said to me,
I have to admit that after the death stare you gave me on entry, I was afraid for my life. But it turns out I've enjoyed chatting with you.
"Sorry," I blushed.
No, it's okay. I'd be mad with me too if I were you. Letting you go from work was nothing personal. I had to let one person go, and I only chose you because I knew you were wasted there.
Thanks, I guess, I laughed. Let's get another shot. Okay, so maybe Adrian wasn't that bad of a person after all. And I don't know if it's because of all the drinks we downed, the atmosphere, or the fact that everyone else around us was sharing New Year's kisses, that I almost felt like Adrian looked like he wanted to kiss me on the strike of midnight too. And I too didn't dodge it. Luckily, nothing happened. I mean, that would have been weird, right? The next day, Adrian messaged me, saying he would help me set up a job interview at a big media company. Wow, that's amazing! Now I had no excuse to sulk around anymore. I needed to get back to the city and sort my life out. Only, I still couldn't get Carl out of my head. I guessed these feelings were real. To clear up my mind, I decided to confess to him online. But then he messaged me back saying,
I think you're great, and I love talking to you, but I have a crush on my coworker. I'm sorry, but I'd like to stay friends.
Ouch! Rejection hurt! Back in the city, I felt lonelier than ever. Yes, I'd got the new job and it was going well, but I was sick of seeing loved-up couples everywhere. To make it worse, Gina came to stay with me for a while, and she's always on the phone, giggling and FaceTiming her boyfriend. Now I couldn't even escape lovebirds in my own apartment. Feeling down, I messaged Carl again, just casually asked him to meet up later this weekend when I would be back home again for my mom's birthday. Well, to be honest, I just couldn't give him up just yet. Maybe he would change his mind when we met, or I would be able to get over him once we meet. But he made up some excuse to reject me again. That was it, I told myself. It's official over now. Depressed, I called Adrian up for a drink. He arrived looking kinda cute, but the sting of rejection was still on my mind. I confided to Adrian, and I asked him if he thought Carl was a fool for turning me down. Adrian slammed his drink onto the table and turned to me and said,
You're the fool. Why are you stupidly chasing after some guy online? He might not even be real. He might be some 60-year-old pervert. Why won't you just open your eyes and look in front of you?
Then he stood up, locked me in his arms, and tried to kiss me. What? I was so mad I pulled myself away from him and slapped him straight across the face before I stomped off. He was meant to be my friend, not some guy after just one thing. I was so hurt, I cried while texting Carl about what just happened, but he didn't reply. The next day, I woke up with a pounding head and puffy eyes. I checked my phone. Adrian had called me, but nothing from Carl. He must have been too busy with his coworker, huh? Suddenly, I heard the door knock. My sister answered it and told me it was Adrian. I reluctantly went out to see him. I guess I needed to at least hear him out. He was standing there looking sheepish as he said,
I'm so sorry about last night, Sonia. I was slightly drunk and I guess I've read the signals wrong. For what it's worth, I think that Carl guy is a fool for letting you go. You're amazing.
I wasn't in the mood to talk to him, so said it was fine, then told him to leave. I closed the door and threw myself on the sofa. Then about 10 minutes later, there was someone at the door again. I answered it, and there was Adrian, but this time he changed his outfit. Confused, I grumbled, "What else do you want?" Then he politely greeted me.
Hello, Crystal. Let me introduce myself. I'm Carl. We've been talking for months. I guess, if you think about it, the more you know who you are and what you want, the less you let things upset you.
I stared at him open-mouthed. He just quoted Lost in Translation, and he'd called me Crystal. Then reality struck me. OMG! All this time, and Adrian was Carl? I dragged him inside. We sat down on the sofa and talked everything out. It's so unreal. Turns out the guy I've been chasing after is literally right in front of me. How ironic! I was so happy I hugged him and broke down crying, apologizing. Right then, my sister walked out from the kitchen, took one look at us, and laughed out, "Well, well, well. Isn't this the awful boss who fired you? But most importantly, isn't he the guy I brought to you at the New Year's Eve party? You two owe me big time." We all burst out laughing. So, yeah, after a horrid holiday season, now I finally could start a promising new year with a great job and a pretty awesome new boyfriend. I guess things always have a way of working out in the end, right? Thank you for listening to my story, and wish you guys a good start into the new year.
Hi, it's me, Diane again. In the first part of my story, I've told you about how I found out my boyfriend Brett was actually my half-brother when I once brought him home to introduce him to my mom, who also wasn't even my real mom. I was seriously upset with my mom and my aunt. I loved them both so much, but they've been lying to me my whole life. Imagine how hurt I must have been. Now with the fact that my dad was also Brett's dad, of course it was wrong to keep dating him. So, one day we met on our college campus, and I told him I wanted to break up with him. It was so horrible to break his heart like that, but the truth would be much, much worse. Part of me really wanted to tell him because then I could meet my real parents, but then Brett would really suffer. Obviously, Brett didn't take the breakup well. He called me so many times and even came to my house begging to get me back. Even though he knew my mom didn't want him there, I completely avoided him, as I felt like if I saw him, I'd just want to be with him again. I ended up taking a semester off college to sort my head out. It wasn't just to avoid Brett, though. I had another reason, too. I noticed that my biological parents' company was hiring a finance intern. I discovered this when I was Googling them one day, and I realized I had to apply. Well, I got the job. I was so nervous to meet my parents, and on my very first day, my manager introduced me to my dad. I had to try and act as normal as possible, just like any other employee, but inside I was screaming, wishing that I could just tell him who I really was. A few days later, I finally met my mom. My colleague told me that sometimes she would come and bring her husband lunch, and as soon as I saw her, I started shaking. She handed my dad his lunch and gave him a peck on the cheek, and they looked so sweet together. I couldn't stop staring at her. And as she left, she glanced at me and smiled. Suddenly I felt so emotional, as if I'd lost something that I'd never had. I ended up running to the bathroom and crying in secret. It was just so overwhelming. When my birthday rolled around, my colleagues organized a small birthday party for me at the office. My mom and dad joined us to congratulate me and even sang happy birthday to me. I kept looking at my mom and noticed there were tears in her eyes. I knew that was because my birthday was the same date that she lost me, her only child. If only she knew I was standing there right in front of her. That night when I got home, I saw that my mom and aunt had also prepared a surprise birthday for me. It made me even more emotional because I thought back over all the years. It didn't matter how busy they both were. They always threw me a party. Inside, I felt like I was going crazy. I felt so torn between emotions for both my biological and adoptive family. I don't know why, but I decided that was the right moment to tell my mom and aunt about my decision to meet my real parents. Don't worry, I'll never leave both of you. And Aunt, I'll never tell them you were the kidnapper, I said. After that, both my mom and aunt were crying and thanked me for promising not to leave them, and even offered to help me get my parents back, which just made me cry too. You're probably wondering about Brett. Well, one day I was in the elevator, and all of a sudden the doors opened, and Brett was standing right there with my dad. I wanted to run away, but I had to face him. I quickly said, "Oh, hey, long time no see, Brett. I work here now. What are you doing here?" My dad looked at us confused, and I pretended not to know that the two of them were father and son. So he explained, "Diane, this is my dad. You must have known him from working together. Dad, this is my, ex-girlfriend Diane. I've mentioned her to you," he said. Then my dad complimented me and said I was a great girl at work and that he was sorry it hadn't worked out for us. Brett looked at me sadly then. I told him I had work to do and rushed off. You see, I was solely focused on revealing myself to my parents and didn't want anything to distract me, but it was going to be tough now that my dad knew I was Brett's ex. But thankfully, my aunt had found out something about Ashley that I could use. That night, my aunt came to my room and told me that she'd been researching Ashley. She was afraid that Ashley would start bothering me if she found out I was trying to get back to my family. Turns out my aunt was friends with a close friend of Ashley, the same friend who helped Ashley hire my aunt to kidnap me. So, my aunt met up with her to ask about Ashley, and she told my aunt that Ashley was married and had a daughter. As for her son, Brett, ever since he was a child, she'd just given him to his dad's family, aka my parents. So, then my aunt went to Ashley's house. She spotted her going somewhere with some friends and followed her. She overheard Ashley bragging about her daughter, and then her one friend said, "Oh, Ashley, you're so lucky to have two amazing kids." But Ashley just laughed and said, "Oh, Brett, that boy is so stubborn. He's not like me at all. He must get his personality from his dad, whoever his dad might be." To be honest, till this day, I still don't know and don't even bother to know. My aunt couldn't believe what she was hearing. So she asked her friend about it, and then, yes, another shocking truth came out. My dad wasn't even Brett's dad. Back then, Ashley had slept with a few random men to try and get pregnant. Then she tricked my dad into thinking the baby was his, so he'd take responsibility and divorce his wife. However, that didn't work out, but still she kept the lie going and handed Brett over to my parents just so Brett could inherit my parents' company. OMG, Ashley was such a monster. She had fooled so many people. All I wanted was to expose her, but my aunt said we didn't have valid evidence yet. So I told my aunt I'd find a way to get some DNA samples from Brett and my dad. Firstly, I asked Brett to meet at a cafe and apologized for my ghosting behavior. I hoped he'd understand and we could be on good terms. To my complete surprise, he confessed that he was still in love with me. In my mind, I thought, I still love you too. I just wished this all would be over soon and we could get back together. As we were saying goodbye, we hugged, and I quickly grabbed a hair that had fallen on his shoulder. With my dad, I managed to find some of his facial hair on his razor in the bathroom by his office. But as I walked out, I saw there was a kid's drawing on his wall that was signed by Brett. It was nothing special, but it really made me feel bad. Clearly, my dad loved Brett so much and was so proud of him. I didn't want to ruin this for them. And sure enough, the DNA results were as expected. Brett was not my dad's son. But I was so hesitant to expose the truth. I worried that my parents' feelings for Brett would change. If they knew that I were their daughter and Brett wasn't actually related to them by blood, maybe they'd just abandon him. And with me and Brett's relationship, they might never accept it. So, in the end, we might all lose someone we love. A son to them, a lover to me, and a family to Brett. If I kept everything hidden, maybe Brett and I could get back together, and I could just see my parents that way. That would be so much better for everyone, right? And it was. Brett ended up joining the company too, and I could tell he wanted to get back together, so everything was going according to plan. But one day, Brett, my dad, and I were having lunch together, and Ashley stormed in. Right in front of us, she started yelling at my dad, saying that he was mistreating Brett by only giving him an intern's job. Brett quickly jumped up and explained that it was his own choice, but Ashley was furious. She shamelessly asked my dad to give her and her new family more money, including school fees for her daughter. She was basically blackmailing my dad. She said that because in the past she'd handed over her son to my parents out of pity, that they'd lost their child, aka me, so she thought it was okay to demand more money from him. My dad didn't reply to her, and Brett was so angry and embarrassed by his mom's behavior, he told her to stop and basically dragged her out of there. I was almost as angry as Brett. How could Ashley do this? I quickly excused myself and left my dad there all alone. By a twist of fate, I bumped into Ashley again. After work, I went to buy some sunscreen, and when it was my turn to pay, I felt someone push me from behind. Then the person said, "I'm in a rush, let me go first, I've got my money ready." And yeah, it was none other than Ashley. And the money she was holding was probably the money from my dad. Clearly, it wasn't for her daughter's school fees then. She didn't recognize me, and didn't even realize she made me drop my purse. But just before I grabbed it, she got there first. And of course there was a photo inside of me, my mom, and my aunt from when I was just a baby. As soon as she picked it up, her face changed. She seemed to realize my aunt and suddenly realized who I was. Oh my God, I never expected that I'd have to confront Ashley in this way. Would she do something bad to me now?
Hey there, animated story show viewers. I'm Crystal, a model and influencer, and I'm here for the Trend Like This Influencer Awards. Why don't you come on in and get ready with me? I know what you're thinking. I have a unique look. You see, I have vitiligo, a condition that causes pale patches to develop on my skin. It's definitely different, but I don't really see it as a disadvantage, but rather one of my biggest perks in life. Since I was a kid, people have always gawped at me in the street. But luckily, my mom and big sis have always been there to support me. Honey, they're only looking at you that way because you're beautifully different. Yeah, Crystal, never doubt yourself. You're one of a kind. Thanks to them, I've grown to adore the way I look. Then one time, while we were walking in the park, this eccentric-looking man approached me. Oh my word, your skin! It's a masterpiece! Turns out, he was Bo Ivanov, the world-renowned photographer. He begged me to model for him, and with the encouragement of my mom and sis, I agreed, and my photos became a viral hit. That's when my interest in modeling sparked. I joined this awesome modeling agent and got to learn all poses for photo shoots, wear these gorgeous outfits, and best of all, have makeup done to complement my vitiligo, not to hide it. Ever since then, I've worked my butt off, fully committed to my work. That's how I became the face of multiple fashion brands and built up my influence empire. I wanted to pave the way for people like me to love themselves and celebrate our own uniqueness. 'Cause look at me, my career, my life could come to this point today, all thanks to my skin. And I wouldn't change it for the world. But then this morning came, I woke up to see, my vitiligo patches, they were gone! This can't be happening! I still have tons of fashion shows and events booked for the rest of the year. Without my patches, will they all cancel on me? Panicked, I called my manager, Alex, and she immediately rushed into my apartment. This shouldn't have happened. The project with Red Rush is next week. I know that. What can I do? Go see a dermatologist? No, Crystal. You can't breathe a word about this to anyone. You don't want to ruin your career, do you? Well, no, but I can't hide inside forever. No, you can't. But you can fake your patches. Just use makeup. Draw some on. What? You mean I should lie to everyone? Your choice. It's either that or kiss goodbye to your career. This is wrong, I know, but I've worked so hard for this. I couldn't just give up now. I guess the foundation would have to make do. I went back to my daily modeling life, and luckily no one seemed to suspect anything. But I was so on edge and constantly checking my makeup. Crystal, have you heard? The brand Raris is looking for models with unconventional features for its newest fashion collection. You're the perfect fit. OMG! Everyone who's anyone in fashion knew of the Raris' creator, Mr. Finnegan. If I become his muse, that's my step into high fashion world! I can't miss this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity! I got my focus straight, fearlessly walking into the building, when suddenly my heel got stuck. I tumbled backward, and out of nowhere, these strong arms wrapped around me, and I landed straight into their warm embrace. For a moment there, I could feel their divine scent overpowering me. Dior Sauvage, isn't it?
You don't change much, do you? Still clumsy even though you're now a superstar.
Hold up. This voice. It's Sam, my high school ride or die. My, puberty has hit him hard, huh? Samuel knelt down and gently put the heel back on my foot. Yup, my heart was definitely flipping out of my chest.
You're going in for the casting, right?
Oh, yes. But how do you know?
I'm one of the judges. I gotta go now. Break a leg. But not literally.
Wow, Samuel's made a name for himself already. Impressive. Wait, Crystal, you're here for work. And now time to shine. I strutted my way along the catwalk, doing my signature twist-turn pose at the end of it. As expected, all the judges were mesmerized. This job was in the bag. Just then, everyone went ooh and ah at the girl next in line. It's Amanda! She's known as the Super Rookie, who challenges the modeling world standards. Ironically, that title once belonged to me, but that's how this industry works. You can easily be dismissed if not careful. We got the results right after the casting. As expected, I was in for the show. Hooray! Hey, Crystal, right? Amanda, huge fan of yours. Say, can a pro like you give this rookie any advice while we train together? You do know this is a competition, right? That means no help. Then I shimmied off. Day 1 of the training, and I already messed up. I had to disguise myself to sneak out and buy a new one. Crisis averted, but this did make me 30 minutes late. You're the professional. Act like one so us amateur can look up to. A veteran in modeling. Or so they say. Those chicks wouldn't miss the chance to dethrone me, especially her.
Welcome, everyone. May I introduce you to our Fall 2023 Haute Couture collection. It is inspired by the elegant art of ballet. So besides your usual training, you'll have a chance to learn some of the moves to capture its true essence. Then I'll pick my star, my vedette.
Ballet? I hadn't done that since the accident! Little 6-year-old me was having a ballet performance and had to do this crazy spinning technique. But somehow, I ended up twirling like a humming top, then face planted right on the stage. I never forget the audience's mocking waves of laughter. No, get yourself together, Crystal. Whatever the challenge is, I'll succeed and rock the vedette position. The first lesson was catwalk. Easy peasy, no one came close to matching me.
Good posture, excellent posing. Well done, Crystal.
Oh, he's so sweet. Can we just take a break to admire this piece of art?
Come on, why are you so shy today, Crystal? Your patches are superb.
Except they're just the magic of makeup. But the nightmare had only just begun. Jeez, these clothes were way too tight. They got me melting like the witch from the Wizard of Oz. Gotta go touch up. Then during another session, I couldn't keep my balance and was wobblier than a jellyfish. Meanwhile, Amanda effortlessly executed all those moves. A few days later, Mr. Finnegan organized a photo shoot, which we had to pose like a ballerina on this revolving platform. The past trauma immediately rushed back into my head. I stepped onto the platform shaking like a leaf. Only with Samuel holding my hands could I imagine to do the simplest pose. At least it's over now. My, our pro seems a little rusty, doesn't she? Just step back and let one of us younger girls take care of this, right, Amanda? Go practice, Xena. Amanda stepped up to the platform. Her body started moving like a real swan.
Gorgeous, Amanda. You're as graceful as the ballerina in the musical Box. That's it. I think we got the shot. Well done.
The whole set erupted in applause, and Amanda was the center of attention. Looks like you could learn a thing or two from your junior. Look, I may not be the best ballerina out there, but I'll show them where 1000% efforts get me in life. So I stayed later after the training to practice more, starting with stretching. Ouch, not as easy as it looked. Okay, let's try again. Just have to raise my leg and... Whoa! Okay, this time it has to work. And now the hardest part, sur le point. Uh-oh. Just then, Samuel appeared, trying to catch me, but we both ended up stumbling on the floor.
Don't try too hard. You may hurt yourself.
It's just, the vedette means a lot to me.
I know you can do it. You've been such a positive influence, and I know that energy can get you what you want.
No, my patches! I'm sorry, I didn't mean to.
It's okay. I crossed the line. I'll just leave now.
Don't, please. If you only knew the truth, you wouldn't think so highly of me.
Hey, what's wrong? You can talk to me, you know.
Just then, the lights brightened around us. What are you two doing here at this hour? Samuel looked startled and immediately kept his distance from me.
Nothing. I saw Crystal practicing. Thought I could give her some advice.
That's not fair. I need some too. What do you think of my releve? They started laughing together like a married couple. Since when did they get so close? After a few days of intense practice, I may not be a ballet master yet, but I did feel more confident about facing the final challenge, which decided who would be the vedette. Look at this gorgeous couture design! I would make a perfect black swan. I tried the dress on, but accidentally smudged the foundation and got it all over the dress. Oh no! I immediately rushed to the bathroom trying to wash the stain off. Stupid foundation! Super stain my butt! The door suddenly snapped open and in stepped Amanda! Your vitiligo patches? They're coming off? And what are you doing with the dress? I tried to hide it, but she already snatched it away from me. Is it foundation stain? Did you fake your vitiligo? No, I was diagnosed with vitiligo for real, I swear. I told her the truth. Thought she was going to use it against me, but to my surprise, she looked heartbroken. I decided to pursue modeling because I felt inspired by you. But now you're telling me it's all a scam? How could you? Amanda, wait, please. I thought you were against me. Does it matter anymore? Now that I got a taste of the truth, you don't deserve my respect. I was at an utter loss for words. I'd been so wrapped up in fear of losing my career that I couldn't care less how my action could affect those who looked up to me. I'm nothing more than a hypocrite. I couldn't live like this anymore. Vitiligo or not, I had to stay true to who I am. I walked straight up to the judges panel and wiped all my foundation away right in front of them. Mr. Finnegan, I no longer fit in your collection. The truth is, my vitiligo has gone. I no longer have any unconventional features. Thus, I'm here to announce that I will cut myself from the show. I'm deeply sorry for all the trouble I caused. I turned to walk out the door, but there stood Samuel. Crystal, I don't understand. I'm sorry, Sam. I'm not the person you think I am. I ran home, hid under the blanket, and cried myself to sleep. Suddenly, a call from my manager woke me up. How can you sleep at this hour? The press is going wild. They're calling you an attention-seeking fraud. I immediately came to my senses and looked up the news. Oh no, how could it break out so fast? At this speed, I'd be canceled by tomorrow morning. See what happens when you act out of my order? Gosh, you models are so dumb. Don't go anywhere. I'll be there to handle this. Was she being for real? All of this was her idea in the first place. Enough! Have fun dealing with this on your own, Alex. I shut down my phone, packed my stuff, and left it all behind to go to my secret place. I used to spend time here with my family when I was a kid. Being surrounded by nature calms me down. Suddenly a hand pressed on my shoulder. Hey, we've been looking for you. Samuel? And Amanda? Did you guys follow me here? It's the only way we could find you. I'm sorry for going at you like that. I was so shocked. You don't have to. It's all my fault. I lost myself when my vitiligo went away. I acted out of fear and ended up disappointing everyone who's counting on me. Well, it's hard to stay sane when your identity is taken from you. But what's important is you've learned your lesson. Now, where is the fearless, confident Crystal we all love? She's right. Patches or not, you're always special to us. That means a lot to me. Thanks, you guys. Turns out I'd misunderstood Amanda this whole time. She's brilliant, gorgeous, and caring, and perfect for Samuel. Welp, that stings. Suppose it's time I got back to work for some damage control. I opened the phone to see hundreds of notifications. Among them was a message from Mr. Finnegan, saying he has a place for me at the fashion show. So it's not the end for me, right? Go get it, girl. Yes, it felt so good to be back. Crystal, you're here. I have great news. You'll be the vedette for this collection. Me? But I don't have any unconventional features. Doesn't matter. You're perfect the way you are. 2 girls will stand by your side, and you'll be in the center wearing this work of art. An elegant swan among the flock of ugly ducks. Isn't that a bit offensive? So this was your plan all along? Playing dirty tricks to save your flopped career? Cut it, Xena. Mocking me won't change the situation. There's something fishy going on here, and I'm gonna get to the end of it. Finally, the show has come. As soon as I got the signal, I strutted to the runway confidently, turning heads to my every step. But it's not for the reason you're thinking. I actually switched places with Amanda, and now all the spotlights are on her. Right at that moment, Mr. Finnegan bolted to the runway. What do you think you're doing? You ruined my show. I had a deal with her. What deal? Tell me. Right now. It's her who's behind this. Alex? Ugh, that snake! It turned out Alex bribed Mr. Finnegan to let me be the vedette and drag the models with unconventional features down since I'm no longer one of them. Hearing that, all the models turned furious, ready to jump at the 2 frauds. You 2 have crossed the line. I don't need any of your manipulative games to continue my career. I will stay true to myself no matter what. Unconventional features or not, I'm always willing to speak up for them because everyone is beautiful in their own way, and they deserve a chance to showcase their beauty to the world. The audience erupted in cheers and applause, while Mr. Finnegan and Alex were surrounded by cameras and criticism. Justice served. After all that drama, I'm still modeling, but with a different agency that fully accepts me for the real me. I continued to influence young people on self-love and being uniquely themselves. Amanda and I became the best of friends. We also made tons of plans to collaborate with Samuel, but honestly, I couldn't shake off this heart-wrenching feeling whenever these two were together. Luckily, my hectic schedule has left me no time to think about that. Guess what? After days and nights of hard work, I now have my own line of skincare products called Only You. Exciting, right? Oh, Sam, you made it! Wow, they're beautiful. Amanda will love them. No, they're not for Amanda. They're for you. Crystal, I'm crazy about you. I always have been. What? It's me you like all along? Then why didn't you tell me that before, silly? I leaped into his arms, and we shared the most amazing kiss. Perfect ending for an amazing journey, huh? I stood in front of this shabby cottage, trying to calm myself, and went inside. One step in, and the door snapped shut. I freaked out and banged on the door. Let me out! Let me out! But only ghastly laughter resounded. Just then, I could feel someone coming close to me. I turned around and was terrified by what I saw. Hey, Clover here, the one that just got scared witless. I know, so embarrassing. Let me tell you how I got myself into that situation in the first place. But before I do, please like and subscribe. I used to have everything. I come from a family of esteemed cardiologists who's made numerous contributions to the medical field. And as the next generation of Howards, I took immense pride in continuing their legacy, which was getting a Harvard medical degree and becoming a doctor. That's why I always made sure my academic record was top-notch. I went to this elite private school, aced every subject, and became the class president. Finally, winter dance prepping's finished, so I could sit back and watch this magical night come to life. Suddenly, my phone got a notice. It's an article about my parents and how they were involved in an operation that cost a patient's life. No way was this real! But when I looked up, everyone was giving me bombastic side eyes. Jeez, I should go to my parents now. I had to ask as soon as I found them. Mom? Dad? What the press is saying isn't true, right? Honey, listen. When the patient was brought in, there wasn't much we could do for her. It was too late. Turns out she's from the Albert family, a very powerful family in the country. They didn't take it too well, especially her son. He blamed my parents for his mom's passing, meaning this media crisis was his doing. My parents explained to him many times, but to no avail. Now he even took legal actions against them. They had no choice but to show up in court. The incident quickly became the talk of the town. Everyone was throwing jibes at us. Gosh, all these turmoils were driving me insane. Clover, can you solve this equation? Clover? Clover! Stop! The whole room turned silent for a second and stared at me like I was some freak. I picked up my books and stormed right out of class, but still, whispers followed me everywhere I went. There was no other place for me to be, so I just ran home and wept tears of frustration. My parents came in all worried for me. They thought maybe it's best if I stayed at my aunt's place. But Mom, Dad, I can't just leave you here. You're not leaving us. It's just that things are messy right now, and we don't want you to be affected. Besides, it's just temporary. Once the lawsuit's over, we'll reunite. Promise? Promise. When I arrived at my aunt's house, she seemed annoyed. Your room's in the attic. You're just here temporarily, so do not make any fuss. It's bad enough your parents got slapped with a lawsuit. Just then, I got a text. Mom's checking in on me. I shouldn't worry her, right? But honestly, I'm not sure how I'd survive this place. First day of school, I had to ride this pile of junk here. Cycling alone made me sweat like a dog. Just then, a boy passed by and yelled at me. Hey, you got a fat side! Excuse me? I said you got a flat tire. Oh, that explains a lot. He helped me fix it. A few minutes later, the bike was good to go. The guy's Percy. He went to the same school as me, and today was also his first day. So, we arrived at school together. As soon as we entered the hallway, everyone stared at us. Suddenly, two girls came dragging me aside. Who are you? Why are you with Percy? You're not his girlfriend, right? Jeez, I met him 10 minutes ago. I don't even know who he is. OMG, you live under a rock or something? He's Percy Albert, the sole heir of the powerful Albert family. That name. Could it be a coincidence? The son that insisted on suing my parents went to the same school as me? Hold on, Clover. This could be your chance to manipulate him into withdrawing the lawsuit. And boom! Things could go back the way they were. Let's see. I could make him fall for me. People would do anything for love, right? Lucky me, Percy and I were in the same biology class where we worked in pairs. The two girls from before, Holly and Jody, started fighting to be his lab partner. Meanwhile, he straight up asked me. Well, not a finger lifted and the prey was already in my trap. That night, I went on his social media account and found out he often golfed at Rolling Greens. I could be a caddy, just had to apply for the position. I got accepted in no time and quickly got used to the job. Oh, and I just happened to go through Percy's golfing schedule and totally did not plan this chance encounter. I parked the golf cart ready to seduce my Ken doll, but somehow standing in front of me was Holly and Jody. What took you so long? Do you know how hot it gets? At least I still got a chance with him on the field. But as soon as these blondies caught sight of Percy, they flew towards him like moths to a flame. So I was left to carry these human-sized bags. Ew, she's stinking with sweat. Social distance, please. Stop, you're being mean. Clover, let me help you with that. Thanks. You came to my rescue again. No worries. Say, I didn't know you worked here. Yeah, I'm pretty good at golf. By the way, for your 50-yard shot, you might want to use this club. Center yourself and give it a good backswing. Percy took my advice and caught a strike. Already? Hey, how would you like to be my personal caddy? I don't know. Come on, help a guy out. Okay, on one condition. When the time's right, I'll use this card. When exactly? I'm so intrigued right now. You just wait. From then on, we always stick together golfing and hiding from Holly and Jody. Hey, are you free this Saturday? Since you helped me out and everything, I, want to repay you. Yes, my plan worked. I was so happy I could jump up and scream. But that only happened inside my head. I still gotta play it cool. Only if it's a date. Saturday came and we took a trolley downtown to watch the streets in the fall. Look at how pretty the golden leaves are. We then stopped at this carnival, and I gotta admit, Percy seemed genuinely sweet. He protected me from the rushing crowd, held my hand when I was petrified on the Ferris wheel. His caring gestures had my heart racing a bit, and also wondered, how could this guy resent my parents that much? As the last ray of sunlight disappeared, the carnival lit up, and Percy's eyes suddenly looked so dreamy. Snap out of it, Clover! You're supposed to make him fall for you, not the other way around. The ride ended, and I immediately went to get some refreshments to calm myself down. But holy cow, I couldn't find my wallet anywhere. What do I do? Excuse me, I'll pay for her. How much is it? Thank you so much. I owe you big time. No worries. Please, at least give me your contact. I'll pay you back. Is that your way of asking me out? No, well, if your boyfriend doesn't mind, give me your hand. Meet me at Caribou's coffee shop, 8 a.m. Sunday. Your treat. After the date, I was sure Percy had feelings for me. I just needed to make him say it. Then I spotted Dumb and Dumber sneaking around my locker. They're trying to fake a note from Percy to me. Tell her to meet Percy at the haunted house in the woods. Then we'll trap her inside. Lame pranks. But I suppose I can go along with them and get Percy all worked up. Nice! And of course, gotta let Percy know where I was heading. I know this was a stupid prank, but the eerie vibe still gave me the creep. I stood in front of this shabby cottage, trying to calm myself, and went inside. One step in, and the door snapped shut. I freaked out, banged on the door. Let me out! Let me out! But no use. Only the sound of ghastly laughter resounded. Just then, I could sense someone coming closer to me. I turned around, so terrified, blood drained from my face. Oh my ghost! Stop shrieking, stupid child. I'm not a ghost yet. He's a real person? Clover, don't worry. It's just my grandpa. Grandpa? What's your grandpa doing here? This is my house. So, this used to be his granddad's house when he was young. Since Percy's mom passed away, Grandpa's health deteriorated. No one in the family cared about him except Percy, as they were all deep in sorrow and hatred. Percy mourned for his mom too, but had to stay strong for his grandpa. So, he brought him back to this peaceful house, hoping Grandpa would feel better. At that moment, I felt bad for what happened to Percy and his family. Losing their loved one must have been so painful. I suddenly understood his motive now, and he badly needed this hug. Clover, I think I'm in love with you. I gushed over his words. Looking in his eyes, I knew it was real, and what I felt for him was also genuine. We could work this out, right? I'd tell him the truth and my side of the story. He'd understand. Percy, But one phone call from Mom changed everything. Honey, we lost the case. Their son has taken everything away from us. Our property, our legacy. Your dad was so distressed, he almost had a heart attack. Hearing Mom's words, tears started streaming down my cheeks. What was I thinking? How could we possibly be together? After that, I avoided Percy completely. I also decided to move out of my aunt's and find a new place. And guess who hooked me up? It's Hunter, the guy I met at the carnival. We did end up going on a coffee date. He seemed cool and knew his way around town. So I asked if he knew a place that me and my parents could stay, as they'd move here soon. Look at this. Pretty cozy, huh? Hunter was nice enough to help me move. Just then, there's a knock on the door. I opened it to see Percy. He got so worried and went looking for me. But once he saw Hunter, he was dumbstruck. Didn't expect you'd find this place so fast, brother. Wait, you two are brothers? Sadly, yes. And we're supposed to mourn for our late mother. Yet here he is playing lovebirds. With you. If losing Mum isn't that big of a deal for him, let's see how he'd like losing you. Don't you dare touch her. Or what? You'll punch me? You Alberts are the worst. Was ruining my family not enough? What are you talking about? I'm Clover Howard. My parents were the doctors who tried to save your mom, but got punished for that. I was so stupid to think I could convince you to drop the lawsuit. My family's in shambles now. Happy? I didn't know. Get out. Never come near me again. Percy had to haul off with a regretful look. A few days later, my parents arrived. I told them everything that had happened, but they said the son who pressed charges was actually Hunter, not Percy. Turns out, their family situation was complicated. Hunter went missing when he was 7, and not until recently did he return. But then his mom unexpectedly passed away. He must have been so miserable that he had to take it out on us. Percy, on the other hand, was really thoughtful and understanding. He did all he could to stop his brother, and I just put it all on him. I had to go fix this. When I got to the cottage, Percy was trying to stop Hunter from messing with my family again. You don't get a say in this. You grew up with Mum's love while I got nothing, and you couldn't even pay her proper respect. We can mourn her in different ways. Mum wouldn't want us to dive deep in hatred. Mum wouldn't want us to befriend people who couldn't save her, and you fell in love with their daughter? Traitor! Hunter was about to punch Percy. I had to stop him, quick. Clover? You should leave now. No, I came here to apologize to you. We gotta work things out. Then let's have a little chit-chat, shall we? I was so close to having a taste of Hunter's fist when Percy came between us and took the full blow. We both ended up on the floor, and when we looked up, their grandpa was already there and witnessed everything. Percy, Hunter, stop fighting! His breath suddenly fell short. His knees were trembling. I immediately called my parents for help, but Hunter snatched my wrist. What are you doing? Call your parents here to mock us? No, I'm just trying to help. He then was on the phone with their family doctor, but she couldn't come because there was a storm blocking all roads. Please, can't you see Grandpa's in pain? You shut it. I'd never get help from those lousy doctors again. Hunter, I'm sorry for what happened. I really am, but don't let your hatred endanger your granddad. I could see Hunter's conflict, but with every second passed, their grandpa became pale. His breath got weaker. He needed to decide now. Please, save him! I immediately called my parents. Minutes later, they arrived and gave him first aid right away. Luckily, Grandpa reacted positively to the medication and gradually recovered. Hunter then broke down in tears. I can't believe I almost put Grandpa in danger just because of my blind hatred. And you didn't think twice about helping. I'm so sorry, everyone. Clover, Mr. and Mrs. Howard, I promise I'll make this right. The following day, Hunter arranged a press conference admitting he was wrong to bring my parents to court. Thus, he'd take full responsibility in fixing his mistakes, including clearing our reputation and compensating us financially. When it's settled, we started a new life here. My parents bought a house, founded this hospital to help people, while I got to continue my dream of becoming a doctor. Harvard meds, here I come! Oops, almost forgot. Of course, Percy and I got together. You didn't think we went through all that, and I never admitted my feelings, did you? I'd been holding it back for what felt like forever. Now, I get to have my happy ending.
My precious Sunday is ruined because of my not-so-precious sister, Emma, who insisted on dragging me to church for some sister time. We walked in to see the priest rushing over. Welcome in. You must be our new member, Janet. Whoa! Just then, the holy statues nearby all fell over and shattered to pieces. It's a bad omen. She's a jinx. No!
You devil! Get out of here!
Yep, that's me. You're probably wondering how I ended up in this situation. Hi, my name's Janet. If you think I'm a jinx too, you're seriously wrong, because animators, rewind that last scene, pause it right there, and... See that? That's my sister, Emma. And fast forward a bit more. Pan over, please. There. That right there is the ringmaster behind my so-called bad luck. You must be wondering why I hadn't exposed Emma that day. It's because everyone is fooled by her naive Cinderella look and never believed how a living angel could do such mischievous deeds. But the truth is, she's the devil. She did everything to make me look like a walking disaster everywhere I go. But who am I, huh? That night, to get back at Emma, I hid under the bed till she was sound asleep, wrapped my icy cold hands around her ankles, jumped out from under the bed, and boo! Emma screamed through the roof, and our parents walked into the room worried just to see me laughing hysterically. Right then, the police on patrol also barged in, thinking something real wrong went on in our house. We ended up spending the night trying to explain to them nothing happened, and they finally left. Do you know how many sleepless nights we've had just because of you girls' petty fights?
That's it. I'm signing you both up to join a community farm from tomorrow.
What? But Dad, I can't live amongst animals and dirt.
For once, I agree with Emma. There's no way I'm going there. You're not going back till you learn to live with each other.
Living with Emma 24/7? I'd much rather be the jinx now. So the next morning, Mom and Dad drove us to the farm to live off the land and bond together. But look at this tranquility and picturesque scenery. Maybe coming here wasn't such a bad idea after all. Suddenly, a loud, obnoxious track started playing from inside my suitcase, startling the animals, and they went rogue.
Stop the music!
But my suitcase was locked. I caught Emma smirking, pressing her phone, and the music suddenly stopped. Once everything was under control, the farmers gave me looks of disapproval. Just when I thought things couldn't be any worse, a trailer nearby slipped off and began to roll downhill, heading straight for an oblivious farmer. Emma immediately swooped in and pushed herself and the farmer out of harm's way just in the nick of time. Richard, are you okay?
Oh, yes, thanks to this young lady. You saved my life. What a good luck charm you are.
That trailer has been sitting there for ages without any problems. Why did it suddenly break just now? Oh, it's my sister. She has this reputation for bringing bad luck wherever she goes. I apologize on her behalf.
No. Don't listen to her. She's evil. That's not something you should say to your sister. Look at her. What an angel.
Emma immediately activated her manipulating power.
Aww. Come on. We got the nicest room for you.
Hey, what about me? The next morning, I was told to milk the cows while Emma didn't even have to lift a finger, just wandering around and pulling pranks on me. In a panic, a guy appeared and helped me out.
What happened here? The hoses are all snipped off.
I'm so sorry about that. It's my sister's stupid prank to get me to look like bad luck.
Interesting. Oh well, we'll hand milk the cows until we get them replaced.
Hand milk? That'd take forever. Emma's gonna have to pay.
Hey, no need for that. I'll give you a hand. I'm Kai, by the way.
He gave the brightest smile, and I instantly felt better. I'm Janet. Thanks for helping me, but which buttons do I push to get milk? Kai cracked up, and I felt like the dumbest thing in the world.
I'm sorry, but that was so cute. Okay, you don't push any buttons. You squeeze it, like this.
Just then, Sylvia walked by and saw us. Well. Who makes you smile like that, Kai? Janet, you are really something, huh? As she left, I felt my heart racing and saw Kai blushing also. Whew, it sure feels hot like summertime. So, Kai, how long have you been living here?
Just recently. I'm actually a skier from the city too, but I came here due to some stuff. Come on, let's go sell the milk.
Kai and I then made our way to the bustling market. Surprisingly, customers were eager to get their hands on our milk. I was ready to make my first hard-earned cash when suddenly, you'd better watch out. You'd better not buy, better not drink this milk right here. Jinxie Janet's coming to town. The crowd buzzed with concern over our milk. Actually, I thought someone else was a jinx. You see, our milk is especially fresh today, all thanks to my good luck charm, Janet. She and I worked all morning to milk the cows by hand. Thanks to Kai's words, the crowd was excited again. Just like that, we sold out in just a few hours. Woohoo! But when we got home, people started praising Emma for bringing good luck to the business. Actually, it was Kai and me who milked the cows, and more thanks to Kai who did most of the heavy lifting. She has nothing to do with this. The room suddenly felt awkward and people started to look away. Only Sylvia cared to acknowledge us. I see. You two make a great team. What about us? I think we'll make a better team. Get off of me, you creep! Ouch. Feisty. Oh my gosh, are you okay? Why are you acting like such an animal, Janet? I'm alright. She may be a bit cold right now, but she'll warm up to me in no time. Right, princess? Emma immediately gave me a death stare. Aiden, why are you here? I'm here for you, brother dearest. Mom and Dad are worried sick back home. Holy cow, these two are related? But they're nothing alike. Well, it does explain why their tension was scorching up the room. Stop it, you two. Always with the bickering. It's getting late. Janet, will you go and lock the barn door? Oh, yes, definitely. But before I reached the barn, a hand suddenly pulled me back. Keep your claws off of Aiden. He's mine. Oh, I see. You're smitten with him, huh? Well, too bad, because he seems to like me instead, sister. How dare you? Emma dashed ahead of me towards the barn, turned all the lights on, blew on the deafening whistle, and the sheep went wild again. I desperately tried to stop the panic herd, but no use. Only when the farmer showed up and let the shepherd dog do his job was the scene under control. This is all your fault. You'll bring us nothing but bad luck and chaos. That's not true. I was trying to help while this was Emma's doing. Stop with all the blaming and start learning some manners, will you? I was stunned. Behind Richard, Emma grinned slyly. She won this time, but not for long. Cause how about I steal Emma's crush, aka Aiden, right in front of her? Well, actually, I didn't really have to steal anything. Cause Aiden always found his way to me first. And he also brought Kai along. It was like something was going on between them, and they kept fighting to get my attention. They showered me with food, fought over the seat next to me at dinner, and wouldn't let me lift anything remotely heavy. It was getting a little annoying, but seeing Emma fuming with jealousy each time is so worth it. One afternoon, Kai and I were picking flowers in the field when he gently tucked a flower in my hair. It looks good on you. Then, he lifted my face and leaned in closer. I was floating in the summer breeze, ready for a kiss when we both got shaken up by the engine revving. Aiden? Sup, pretty thing? Wanna go out with a date with me? She's with me, can't you see? Well, maybe I'm blinded. Blinded by my love for you. How about you two can show some brotherly love and go together, huh? Then I walked off, only to see Emma's blonde head sticking out from the flowers. Hey Aiden, on second thought, I'd love to go with you. Shall we? Driving away, I could see Emma furious, and Kai with sad eyes following me? But the thing was, this was hella awkward. I don't feel like flirting if there was no Emma. And he, well, I don't know, couldn't stand it anymore. So I told him to stop at this random clothing store and insisted he try on this fancy suit. Whoa, you cleaned up nicely, huh? Do I not look good usually? Well, you kinda look like a hooligan. Is that genuine joy I see on your face? What? I'm always smiling. Oh, really? You and Kai were ready to bite each other's heads off just then. You don't know everything about us, Janet. I know you have a thing for him, but I can never let you two be together. Not this time. We came back to the farm to see Emma waiting for us, all agitated. You tramp! Isn't Kai enough for you? Now you're playing the double game with Aiden? And you're just jealous because Aiden doesn't like you. That's right. I only have eyes for Janet. She and Kai were never together. So quit sticking your nose into our business. Emma couldn't utter a word. For the first time, she seemed so vulnerable, then rushed away in tears. Look what you did, brother. Playing with both Emma's and Janet's hearts is a low blow. You're one to talk. Wasn't the thing with Tina your low blow? Tina? Tina who? Tina was your crush. I had nothing to do with her. It's about time you get over that. That's not what Tina said. She told me you flirted with her, and you abandoned her when she's falling for you. She lied, okay? She wanted to use you against me, and never once reciprocated her obsessive behaviors. I just want to leave everything behind and enjoy my life here, with her. So Aiden, please, just let us be. Too bad. She seems to like me instead.
Can't you see? She doesn't care if her sister likes me. She still chose me over you.
Dang, those words hit me hard. I didn't realize what I'd done to Emma all along. It's time to end all these silly sibling conflicts. Guys, stop. Can't you see are hurting each other just like Emma and I?
Janet, this jerk plays with you and Emma. He deserved a fist or two.
No, Kai. I'm not exactly innocent either. I was also using Aiden to get back at Emma.
You what?
I know. But all these petty revenge doesn't bring us any good. No one wins at all. And honestly, I regretted having hurt Emma. And so should you guys.
You want this golden boy to drop his sky-high ego? Yeah, good luck with that. I'm not a golden boy, Aiden. Are you kidding me? With all your success and skiing trophies, Mom and Dad can even see me behind all that. When you left home, they freaked out and made me go looking for you. Do you know the reason I quit skiing and left home? 'Cause Mom and Dad wouldn't stop pressuring me. It's suffocating. Every time I stand on the rink, my whole body shakes like crazy. I'm not perfect, Aiden, and I did not want to take away any attention from you. I'm sorry if you ever feel that way.
Well, I didn't know.
You could have told us what you'd gone through. To who? To Mom and Dad? The ones who keep pushing and nagging? Sorry I wasn't there for you. Heck, I was the worst.
Right? You two could work this out. Now if you excuse me, I have my own sibling conflict to resolve. I was about to leave when we heard Emma screaming, "Fire! Fire! Help!" We immediately rushed to her, and the fire already caught on the haystack. It was spreading fast. I accidentally knocked over the oil lamp. What do we do now?
You go call the firefighter. Aiden, you go get everyone here. Us two, we will go get water. Go, go, go!
Kai and I tried our best to pour bucket after bucket of water, but it only stopped the fire from spreading, not put it out. We almost exhausted ourselves when the farmers arrived along with the firefighters, and luckily, after half an hour, everything was under control. Phew! But then, the farmers started surrounding me.
It was because of you, isn't it? Every time incidents happen, you're always on the scene. Coincident? I think not.
There we go again. But this time, I'm too beat up to even say anything. Then, there was Emma, petrified in fear, so I used every last effort to stand up. That's right, I knocked over the oil lamp and caused this fire.
What are you doing?
It's okay, I'm used to this. No, it was my fault. Janet's just trying to take the fall. In fact, this whole time, I was the one doing all the damage and blaming it on Janet. Was this for real? Emma standing up for me?
You? Is this some kind of childish joke? You could have really harmed everyone here. This is our life work, not your girls' playground.
I'm truly sorry.
That's it. Tomorrow morning, you'll have to leave here for good. Both of you.
We had no choice but to call our parents to pick us up. Meanwhile, I gotta pack my stuff. Hey, I know I've been mean to you since forever, so why did you still take the blame for me? I'm just tired of petty fights. Besides, I feel bad for stealing Aiden away from you. I don't have any feelings for him, and I don't think he falls for me either. I just wanted to mess with you. I figured. I actually heard what you guys were talking about before, and it hit me hard. You know, I used to enjoy being the only child.
Yeah, no kidding.
But honestly, when you came, it felt like all the attention and love was stripped away from me. I felt so lonely and jealous, so I decided to make you the center of attention, but in the worst way possible. I'm sorry. It's okay. It's all in the past now. I just want us to get along. And me not be called a jinx anymore. You got it. The next morning, our parents arrived all angry. We were so ready for a long-term grounding, but once they saw us holding hands, they were pleased.
Honey, I think your plan worked.
I knew it. You two can be little troublemakers, but deep down you still love each other.
Come on, let's go home.
Can we just wait for a few minutes? I don't want to leave without saying goodbye to Kai. But what took him so long? I gotta get going. Then Kai finally showed up.
Wait up!
I rushed out of the car and ran to give him a big hug. I thought you wouldn't come to say goodbye.
How could I not? Especially when you forget the most important thing.
Really? What is it?
It's me, you silly.
Oh, you're coming back to the city?
Yes, I have a reason to be back now. To the city, to skiing,
and what is it?
It's you.
Suddenly, a tree fell over right beside us and crashed the mailbox, causing all of the mail to fly out.
You really are bad luck, aren't you?
Hey, that tree was already rotten. And don't you think that it barely missing us means I'm good luck?
I'm just kidding.
I was tidying up my room when a call came through. Oh, my big sister! She lives with Mom, so I've not seen her in a year. Blair, it's been a hot minute. How have you been? Hi, Kiernan. Well, not so good. Mom left. Oh no, what happened? Then Blair told me it's due to Mom's debts. She had run away from the loan sharks and left my sister behind.
That's awful. So I told her to come to Portland and live with us. She agreed to come, but then I realized that Blair staying here wasn't really down to me. Oh well, it's not like I could leave her in danger, right? So later over dinner, I told my family about Blair's current situation. Oh, how terrible. Yes, Blair must come and stay. Yay! Their kindness didn't surprise me as my stepmom and stepsis, Chrissy, have been lovely to me ever since I moved in. You know what's even cooler? Christy is a rising teen pop star, but she's so sweet. We've grown super close, and she even told me all about her secret boyfriend, Damien. They'd been together long before Chrissy became famous, and had since kept their relationship out of the public eye. This is so exciting! I haven't seen Blair since our parents split. This guest bedroom is going to be hers, and we're living under one roof again. Blair's basically my alter ego. She's pretty, outgoing, and popular, while I'm more of a homebody. Come to think of it, I see a lot of Blair and Chrissy. They're both so extroverted and confident. They'll get along just great. But to everyone's surprise, Blair showed up looking completely different. Wow, it seems like living with Mom, a party animal, had clearly influenced Blair. Hello, Blair. I'm Stacy, and this is my daughter, Chrissy. Welcome to Portland. You must be tired from your trip. Let me take your bag. Sure. Huh? Doesn't it seem like everyone's excited about Blair's arrival, all except for Blair? Maybe she's just tired. I showed Blair her room and helped her unpack. Oh my god, they're unbearable. How can you stand living with them? They think they're so much better than everyone else. What? Blair had only spoken to them for 5 seconds. Why she disliked them so much already? Give them a chance, they're really lovely. Blair's probably just stressed out from all the mom stuff. Hopefully, with time, she'll see how great stepmom and Chrissy are. Only things didn't get any better. After class, both Chrissy and Blair came up to me. Hey, wanna hang out? I asked her first. Oh, then we can all go together. Sorry, Chrissy. It's just that we haven't seen each other in ages, and there's a lot of catching up to do. Maybe we can go to Sephora tomorrow to check out that new Anastasia palette you like. Sure, have fun. Then Chrissy left. I'm sure she really wants us all to hang out. Oh, please. She thinks just 'cause she's popular, she can always get her own way. She's mid. Okay, maybe it's best not to mention either of my sisters to one another to avoid World War III. Things went on like that for a while. I took turns to hang out with Blair and Chrissy. Once when Blair was chilling in my room, I noticed her smiling at her phone. Seemed like our homegirl had finally found something fun to enjoy around here. I excitedly asked her what she was watching. Look, isn't he cute? He goes to our school also. Wait, no, it can't be. That's Damien, Chrissy's secret boyfriend. If Blair learns that the girl she hates is her crush's girlfriend, all hell will break loose. I think I'll ask him out. Really? He's so popular he must have hundreds of girls wrapped around his finger already. Besides, what if he's not into you? You'll only be rejected and get hurt. What do you mean? Am I not pretty enough? Oh, I see. You think that a popular guy like him is only suitable for your famous, fabulous other sister, Chrissy, don't you? No, that's not what I mean. You're gorgeous. In fact, out of his league. You deserve a guy who has time just for you. So why bother competing for attention from someone like him? Okay, thanks. But he's my type. I'll ask for his number Monday morning. Oh no, I just accidentally encouraged Blair to ask out Chrissy's boyfriend. I can't reveal that Chrissy and Damien are secretly together, but I can't let Blair steal someone else's boyfriend either. What a mess. I tossed and turned all night. Then when I woke up, I decided I'd just have to make Blair stop liking Damien. I don't condone catfishing, but right now it's the only way. Hey there, Blair, right? It's Damien here from math class. What you doing? A few seconds later, Blair replied, Oh my god, I was just thinking about getting your number. Looks like the first steps of my plan are working. I texted Blair as Damien regularly. I made sure he was a man of 1,000 red flags. But for some puzzling reason, Blair seemed smitten with him. I gave him a seriously challengeable temperament. He could throw a tantrum one moment and become sweet the next. Then I photoshopped Damien's selfie into a photo of a messy bedroom, then sent it to Blair. Surely she couldn't abide by a narcissistic, messy guy like him. I'm so sorry, Damien, but I have to save my family. Huh? What? She sent back a picture of her room being messier than ever. She's always the clean freak around here. I had to see with my own eyes. Hey, may I borrow your hair curler? And what's with your room? So what if it's a bit untidy? Neat people are total psychos. Okay, it's time to get personal. Blair's biggest pet peeve was being commented on her look. So when she sent Damien a selfie, I didn't hold back. Babe, can't you dress more ladylike? And you really should cover up that awful tattoo. Voila! That's how you wake up the beast inside this fierce girl. However, the next day, Blair showed up with a completely new look. Worse still, she walked straight over to Damien. I had to fake having an emergency to prevent a disaster from happening. Afterward, I texted Blair. I'm not ready to let everyone know about us yet. Please understand, babe. You know I like you. There. That should stop her from trying to approach him again. Even so, during lunch, Blair wouldn't stop blabbering about Damien and showing me his texts. Isn't he quite rude? You don't normally let guys tell you what to do. He's not. He's just opinionated. I'm into that. No, he's horrible. I don't understand why you like him. He's sweet. You just don't know him like I do. Our love is complicated, but that's what makes it special. Seriously, you called that love? What do you know? Okay, little Miss Love Guru, if you're really that experienced, make that guy your boyfriend, succeed, and I'll give out the love of my life. If not, I'll do as I please. What Blair is daring me to do was impossible. That guy, Adrian, is as popular as Damien. While Damien's the friendly one, Adrian is nicknamed Jack Frost due to his icy cold exterior. Rumor has it, no one has ever seen him crack a smile. Surrender, as expected. Then step aside, sister. Not knowing what else to do, I agreed to the bet. This is for Blair, for Chrissy, for Dad's happiness. Hi, Adrian, right? Are you free tonight? Or whenever? He gave me this cold glance, then went back to chatting with Damien. Please, I'm just trying to win a bet with my sister. One smile from you is enough to save the fate of an entire family and stop 2 girls becoming homeless. Can you just... Adrian gave me this odd look. Then he burst out laughing and took my hand. Sure thing. Can't wait for our date tonight. I left in a haze of confusion. That really just happened? Adrian must be messing around. But nope, he actually showed up at my doorstep that evening. This meant I'd won the bet, right? So I called Blair over to show her, but she just brushed it off. That proves nothing. Talk to me when Ice Boy professes his love for you. Man, I guess this means I'm going on a date. The tension in here was palpable, so I decided to break the awkward silence. Hey, where are we going? I mean, this isn't actually a real date, is it? It's definitely real. You insisted. I must have looked so dazed that he continued. Don't worry, I'm not messing with you. Anyway, I think you'll like where I'm taking you. I used to think he was incapable of smiling, but turns out he looks even cuter when he does. A drive-through cinema? Wow! I'd seen these in old movies, but I had no idea it still existed. So, what's the deal with your sister Chrissy? You mentioned a bet? You know that Chrissy is my sister? Of course, it's not exactly hidden. Besides, I'm friends with Chrissy's boyfriend. So, you know? Yep, there's no secrets between me and Damien. And don't worry, I have his back. So, can you answer my question now? I like this different side to Adrian. So before I could stop myself, I told him how the bet wasn't with Chrissy, but with my other sister, Blair. And I was catfishing Blair as Damien to protect my family, but it's barely working. Whoa, that's intense. Secrets make things complicated. Life sure would be easier if we could just be ourselves. So, why did you decide to go on a date with me? Don't you think it's weird? No, not really. Beats how girls normally ask me out. I arrived home feeling on cloud 9, but then I walked past Chrissy's room and saw her upset. I asked her what's going on. It's Damien. He wants us to go public, but I told him I'm not ready yet. I like having this part of me private, and I don't want Damien to be open to backlash and scrutiny. But he didn't understand and thought I was embarrassed of him. Oh, Chrissy, what a pain. Give him time, I'm sure he'll come around. But the school performance is in a few days. How am I supposed to take the stage in this state? I hated seeing Chrissy so downhearted like this. And I thought about Adrian and what he said during our date about honesty. I don't know much about the pressures of fame, but I do know that your feelings for Damien are real. I don't think love is something that you should hide. Honesty is the best policy. It might be hard at first, but you can get through it together. Now, come to my case, I should also follow my own advice and put an end to my catfishing before it gets out of hand. I tried hard to think of the best way to break this to Blair while we were walking to school the next day. After much hesitation, I pulled her aside before entering school for a talk. Only, before I could get to the main part, Damien walked past and oddly, Blair didn't do so much as to blink. Seeing my confusion, she said, "Yesterday he ignored all of my messages. You're right, I deserve someone better. Anyway, what did you want to tell me?" "Oh, that, my date with Adrian was amazing. It all happened because of you, so thanks. And sorry about Damien. It's okay." That's strange. Did my smitten sister really just give up that easily? But anyway, at least it's all over now. and I don't even have to come clean anymore. The day of Chrissy's performance arrived. Me, Adrian, and Damien had backstage access. Actually, I'm here for emotional support as Chrissy is about to tell everyone about her relationship with Damien. This is a surprise for Damien too. He just thinks we're here to get a better view of Chrissy. She slays the performance and the audience adored her. Thanks everyone. Thank you so much. Actually, today is an extra special day because I have something. But suddenly Blair stormed onto the stage and snatched Chrissy's mic. How about making it even more special with this breaking news? Everyone, she's had a secret boyfriend all this time. She made the poor guy hide in the shadows so she can keep her squeaky clean image. She's lied to you all for years. Is someone like that worthy of your support? Blair ran off as soon as she finished. Boos start coming from the crowd. Many people began commenting on the situation in true TMZ fashion. What is this, 2009 VMA? No way! My Chrissy is taken? Meanwhile, Chrissy had a panic attack and froze there on the stage. I didn't know what to do. Neither did Damien. Luckily, Adrian kept calm and grabbed the walkie-talkie, connected to Chrissy's in-ear. Chrissy, listen to me. In times like these, there's only one way out, and that's confronting the truth and taking back the narrative. I looked at Adrian and realized something about my own problem. More on that later. For now, let's see how Chrissy handles this. Well, there goes my big reveal. Yes, I'm in a relationship. But I only kept it quiet because I wanted to separate my personal life from my professional one. Being a public figure and a teenager at the same time is not as easy as you might think. So I didn't want to drag my loved one into that life too soon. On reflection, maybe this wasn't the best way to deal with this. I won't hide anything from my fans anymore, and those who truly support me won't judge or speak badly of my decision. Everyone, I want you to meet Damien, my boyfriend. The audience went wild! Aw, this is so cute! But I still had one more problem to deal with. Blair! I looked everywhere and finally found her hiding under the bleachers. Blair, it's just me. Please come out. I started to talk about what just happened, but Blair didn't want to hear it. I know everything! You tricked me because you think I'm an idiot. La 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 la! I let her finish her outburst and calm down. Then I apologized and told her the truth. I only did it because I didn't want you going after a boy who's already taken. I know I went about it in a completely wrong way. But I just wanted to keep our family together. I love you, and I don't want to be in the middle of your jealousy towards Chrissy anymore. If you just gave her a chance... You could have just been honest with me! This is all because you prefer Chrissy over me, don't you? No, of course not. I just wanted to protect you, and for there to not be any more conflict between you and Chrissy. I'm so sorry. Please forgive me. Actually, I'm not jealous of Chrissy because she's famous and gorgeous. It's actually because you guys are really close. We used to be that close when our parents divorced, and now it's like I've been replaced. Blair's honesty touched me in the feels. I gave her a big hug, but then realized that we weren't alone. Actually, I'm jealous of you, Blair. You're all Kieran ever talks about, and I feel that, even though we're close, I can't compete with her real sister. Oh, so the tension between them wasn't just over a boy. It was actually over me. To me, you're both my real sisters, and I love you dearly. Come on, sisterly cuddle. Oh, by the way, how did you know that I was pretending to be Damien? I overheard your conversation with Chrissy. It didn't take much digging around to figure out it was you texting me, not the real Damien. While we're at it, I find it worrying you were still into him after all those red flags. In future, please let me vet your dates first. You're too easily blinded by good looks. Oh dear. That's why us girls have to stick together, especially when it comes to boys.